on an awesome Friday shoot. We usually do Wednesdays, but you know, we do what we want. So we're mixing it up today with my good buddy, my good old pal, Craig Cornwall from StingerWorx.
Yep.
Makes suppressors.
We do.
Also known as silencers. Also known as cans. You know, like there's people that are watching that they don't know what a gun is, okay? So actually I'm kidding because we're in Idaho. Oh, everybody owns a gun. Or so we would like other people to believe. So they don't come over here as quickly as they are coming.
Right.
But no, you're all welcome. Nothing but love and kindness. Cheers. Craig, thank you for joining us today.
For sure.
As always, when we get started with every episode, big shout out to Argos Productions, Justin and Erica for allowing us to use their studio and allowing me to continue to do this project and bring what I think happen to be great stories from business owners, centers of influence, and individuals that not only have great stories to tell, but also help share the identity of what Idaho is when you live here, when you play here, and when you work here. So, Craig.
Good work.
I do what I can. Cheers to you, friend.
I like that.
Boom. Huh. I'm drinking by myself, but I'm not.
Half and half.
There you go. That's okay. Craig's not an alcohol consumption drinker, which is cool.
Found the closest thing we can.
The closest thing. It looks like alcohol, but it's not.
No.
Not that anybody watching cares. Is your mom watching?
She probably will.
She probably. Okay, so that's a San Pellegrino.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a local beer. Let's get down to it. Craig, thank you for making time for meeting with us here at my Idaho Friends.
Sure.
We're gonna get to StingerWorx because that's all the fun stuff. That's where all the toys is. We not very often we get, props.
Show and tell.
Show and tell.
Yeah.
So these are really cool. These are just beautiful pieces of work, especially because I happen to know what they are. But we're gonna dive into that a little bit towards the end. But let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. So let's genesis this. Yeah, I read the good book, but it's a joke. It's
Gotcha.
I don't know people that go to church.
I didn't know you could read.
Oh, right, there you go. So Craig, you have an interesting background.
A little bit.
So if we were to work backwards, so StingerWorx right now, manufacturing suppressors, cans, for those of you guys that like to say cans back at home. Prior to that, you were doing work still as a mechanical engineer down in, in Florida?
I did a little bit of work with JSOC out of Florida.
Right, with JSOC.
SOCOM.
Yeah, so SOCOM, so Special Operations Command, for those of you that are watching, JSOC, Joint Special Operations.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to touch on that a little bit. And then prior to that, you were going...
NASA.
You were at NASA,
Yep.
And then prior to NASA, you were going to school for like a very, very long time.
Right, yeah. It seemed like a long time. We had 5 kids during
Right,
that time.
oh gosh, yeah. So shout out to Morgan, your wife, she's
For
awesome.
sure.
Class of 98, Boise High, where you at? And then, before you started your beautiful family, with Morgan and your beautiful children, prior to that, you were in the service.
I was
For
in the Navy.
For a short amount of time in the Navy. Thank you for your service. And
You also.
this is not about me, but thank you. The sentiment is appreciated. And prior to your time in the service, and that's where I want to get us started. Today's been a long day, and that's why I had to do the backwards planning type thing, because it's like then I know where to go through. Where were you at prior to the service?
I pretty much grew up in the area. We moved to Mountain Home when I was like 4. I went to school in Grandview and in Bruno. So,
man, hot spots.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like a huge cultural hub.
Yeah, exactly. So we had, when I was in 5th grade, they had combined classes in Bruno. So 5th and 6th grade were in the same room. And when I was in 5th grade, the 6th grade was 4 girls, and that's it. So, it was pretty small. And then we moved to Cambridge, and then we moved to Boise when I was, when I got to be 12, 13, something like that.
12, 13, so that was 1971 probably.
So, about that. Well, 61.
Because you're old.
I am old. So we moved to Boise, and then I finished up in Middleton. In Middleton. So I've kind of lived around the valley and around the area for most of my life.
Yeah. So you're a local fellow.
Yeah. And then after I graduated, I a job. I did some stuff all over the country. I did asbestos abatement, traveling around. So I worked in all kinds of different places around the country for a year or two. And I was a ski bum ever since living in Cambridge, because everybody skied up there. I started skiing, started teaching skiing. And then when we moved to Boise, I started teaching skiing finally up there. And so I planned my life around the idea of being a ski instructor. So I never really found a real full-time job until I went into the Navy. Really, I was like, well, if I get a real job, then I'm not going to be able to ski every day. And
and then the whole ski bump situation.
Exactly.
Goes out
So yeah, the season of like 94, 95 got done, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. I really didn't have anything going for me. And my brother was a Marine, and so
he's a smart one.
Sure. And so he was a Marine. So I was like, how do I outdo that? Military did good for him. How do I outdo that? I thought, well, I'll go be a SEAL. And it was like, it's kind of whim type of thing, I was athletic. I did a lot of sports when I was growing up, and I rock climbing. I was kind of an outdoor adventure type guy. So I thought, man, you get paid to jump out of planes and blow stuff up and shoot gun, all the cool stuff. And it sounds like fun. I wouldn't mind getting paid. Right now, I wouldn't mind getting paid for anything, but that'd be a good place to go.
And what was it? What year was that? What was the time?
I went in 95.
95. Yeah. So 95, that was before all the books and all the movies and all the modeling.
Yeah,
and stuff like
Dick
that.
Marchenko had a couple of books out, like the Rogue Warrior series.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
And I read all of them.
And you read all of them, but so it's a good recruiting tool right there. But other than that, it was still the silent professional community. Nothing but love for my SEAL guys. They just like to write books. They're good at it. They're good at it. They're very good writers. Yeah, they got a story to tell.
Yep. No, so I did, and I watched the movie Navy SEALs. I was like, well, if that's what it's like.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen is a great depiction of the.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I saw myself as a young Charlie Sheen.
I always love when he shoots like the propane gas, and it's just a big explosion.
A giant explosion.
Yeah, but to be fair, all action movies in the 80s and 90s did that. So it
exactly.
Yeah, so,
like they don't now.
Yeah, unlike if they don't now, you just grab the C4 and then toss it up in the air and shoot it, and then this massive explosion. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's awesome. And then, so this is a big part of your story, and I know that you're comfortable sharing that. So hopefully, when we're projecting that, I'm not being a jerk to my friend. So, but
if you weren't, I wouldn't feel loved.
Right. Exactly. And there's that too. But I think, I have to be careful. Last time we had Dan Nelson over here, and we were spitting some game back and forth. Like Army, Marine Corps, and now it's Navy, Marine Corps, and I
mean, we're all Navy.
Right, the men's department of the Navy.
Yeah, right.
So, at least I am. But but no. All jokes aside, I just want to make sure that that if you're watching and all of a sudden you see this interaction, that Craig and I, we have known each other now for a hot minute.
Yeah, wow.
I have known your very hot wife since we were in high school together.
Longer than I have.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Kind of weird.
No, it's not. God. Hi, Morgan. Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there because it's just been that kind of day.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, Idaho. Holy shnikes. Have kids, they say. So cheers to us.
Oh,
parents.
I feel bad for you, and you're 3.
Right. No, my 2 children, and you have 7. Okay, or 5, which might as well. Once you have more than 3.
I actually have 6.
You have. That's true. Yeah, because you are a grandfather now.
I am. I'm a really old fart.
You're not actually. Well, you're not that old because we're in the same age group. I mean, I'm 40, and you're what?
46.
46.
Yeah. For about 10, 15 more days.
There you go. Okay.
Tell me that when you're 46.
Very well. Fair enough. Because things hurt. Things are starting.
Yeah.
So,
but we had triplets. The last 3 were triplets. Yeah. And so we were shooting for one more, and I kind of overshot.
You kind of overshot. So there you go, overachiever. It's just like you were just trying to make your brother.
When in doubt, overload, right?
Yeah, when in doubt. Yeah, P for plenty when you are like dealing, with RAFs and explosives. Yep. Well, so now that that's out of the way, so you're in the Navy. You go ahead and decide that you're gonna really, really outshine your Marine brother, and you're going, through SEAL training.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was going through, I was doing pretty well. I felt like, a lot of guys get rolled and stuff like that. And I was one of 19 to graduate from a class of 142 that started. And that's kind of typical-ish numbers. And several of those were rolled in because they got hurt, during training or had, academic things that they needed to work through and got rolled back to the next class. But I was able to go through one shot. I wouldn't have wanted to be a retread very badly. I mean, that would have not been.
I don't think most.
That wouldn't have been a hell of a lot of fun.
That's nobody's plan.
No,
they're going through
exactly.
any kind of training like that.
Right. It's like, let's just do the 6 months. I'm not here for the 2-year plan.
Right.
And I know some guys that were. We had one guy get rolled back through, and he went all the way through BUDS, and then was like at a Zora review board and had to go all the way back through BUDS. And he ended up being my dive buddy for a little while. It was interesting. He was a good guy, but hard as nails.
There you go. So you get through the training.
I was right at the very end.
At this very end,
Yeah.
you make it, and then you.
And I wrecked a motorcycle. So I'm like,
I was gonna work up to that, but I just said, let's
sorry.
just get it out of the way. No, I say you were late.
I don't open presents
You
like
left
that.
to go get tacos, and then And
well,
then
no, and that's the thing. Is like a lot of people assume that I was like, I'd been out drinking, or I was going into training one morning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was coming up the Strand, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. There was nothing else out there, and so I ended up wrecking.
Right. Yeah.
I'll stop there.
Right. So there we go. And just to be clear, I wasn't making the assumption. I honestly just meant tacos. I didn't say anything like booze or beer or wine.
No, I know,
or anything like that. And I know, and I get that because you're very humble and you have accomplished a great deal. Since before and then after your accident, and not only is your family proud of you, I'm very proud of you, and anybody that knows you is very, very proud of you. It's like all the things that you've been able to do and accomplish, and you do for not just for yourself, but those around you. So I guess we'll not make it as nearly as dramatic as I was intending to. I like to paint a picture with words. That's okay. That's quite all right. So let's just get down to it. So you have this terrible accident, and what was the aftermath?
So, I broke my back at T4, which is about chest level.
Yeah.
Pretty good, solid fracture. Really, when I woke up, I had a little bit of road rash on one wrist, and I had a broken bone in my thumb and a broken ankle, and some road rash. I didn't really have very much, issue except for this broken back thing.
Right.
And so I woke up in the hospital. I remember hitting the curb and starting to go up in the air, and then I don't remember much after that until I remember hearing kind of seeing people working on me, and heard a helicopter coming down, and there's actually a cadence that we call that's like, you hear the chopper coming, and I was like, well, that's weird. I'm hearing a chopper coming, and so, and then the next thing I remember, I was in the hospital, and they'd already brought me in there and stabilized me, I guess, and so, I called my girlfriend at the time. I was like, hey, what's going on? And it was like Wednesday in the middle of the day. She's like, why are you calling me at a Wednesday in the middle of the day? Shouldn't you be training? And I'm like, well, I broke my back, and so she came down, and she was really awesome. We're still friends, and Morgan are friends with Susan, and she's an awesome gal. So she came down and was like, wow, you're a mess, And so that was a tough thing.
I would imagine
it was a tough thing. Go from being trained, doing that kind of training, to being can't cough. My diaphragm has some paralysis. So there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of things, people think that the experience of being paralyzed is not being able to walk, and there's a heck of a lot more than that to it. I mean, there was times when I couldn't clear my throat because I didn't have the musculature and I hadn't learned any tricks or techniques to be able to cough. I had to grab like the hospital suction and shove it down my throat to clear my throat. Oh, sorry about that. To clear my throat, and it was just little things like that, like finding all the tricks. It takes some time, It takes some time.
Wow.
So, and you still, like you still do stupid stuff. I flipped over in my chair somehow a couple of years ago and had to get like 7 stitches in the back of my head because I flipped over, and it was one of those, I'm falling, but I can't do anything about it.
Well,
had nothing to grab onto.
Were you at the skate park? Are you getting?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was no, I was getting out of my truck. It was the stupidest thing in the world. But my wife knows me well enough. She came over and she's like, "You all right?" And I'm like, still bell ringing, sitting there like that. First thing she did is grab my phone and start taking pictures. She knows me because I'm like, "Whoa, did you get some shots of that thing?" Because I want to know what that looks like. That's pretty awesome.
Morgan. Oh, God. I wish she was here. Okay, so I guess, so back then, clearly that sucked.
Yeah.
And then that's just what it is. And you had completed training at that time.
I was right at the end of training. I had about 2 or 3 weeks left.
Okay.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So
they felt like, I'd gone through, nobody quits really
right
in the last 3 weeks. You've gone through
left.
all the coal, the culling activities.
Yeah.
You might get a safety violation, you might get rolled back for something, but nobody really quits then.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and graduated me, but I never got the trident. I'm not a SEAL. So I try and be very clear about that because I
know
too much respect for that.
And I know that. No, it's just there's a lot of lineage and heritage, and I know I throw those words around anytime I'm talking to a fellow veteran and somebody that has been in the service, and not everybody has the testicular fortitude, whether men or women, to go into the service, regardless of branch. And then when you actually go ahead and then decide, I'm in the service now and I'm going to go do this even way harder thing that nobody really else, wants to do. Because everybody, watches the movies and now they see like all the things now, and because there's just a whole lot of I think an overabundance of information of,
For sure.
Of what being part of the Special Forces community is, and
I think it's still glamorized.
Or words,
yeah.
And it is what it is. They need people. They need good people.
They do.
And in order
they need people that are ready to go do that. Those are hard to find.
And in order to get good people, you're going to need probably a little bit of a larger sample, and that are not gonna make it because they're not entirely sure what they're getting into.
Sure.
And or maybe they do. Again, this is not a jab at anyone, but it's still it's like tremendous respect for you, Craig, because not everybody just wakes up and says you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and suffer in silence somewhere.
Yeah.
So I know, and I get it. And for you, and that's one of the things I love about you, you're incredibly humble and you think it's just not a big deal. And I get that. I'm not trying to create a big deal out of it, but I
get that.
I think it's something to be highlighted because, it's a community in which tell me what really happened. And it's no, man, okay, so there were 3 weeks left and this is what it is.
Yeah.
And you're not out there banging your chest, saying things. It's you're just a guy, kind of like me, it's like me.
Right.
I haven't gotten a haircut. I have a dad bod. This is like my jam now. I just kind of hang out around town and drink beer and do business, and then I do this. And hang out with my family and my children.
Yep.
If they don't kill me.
Yeah.
Which they were trying to do today.
I think that yeah, I get you there. I understand that. So I think that. I got to be careful. I don't want to be, I think that we need guys. I'm not saying you can't be a good dad if you don't have some kind of background in that, but
right.
I think that we need to be making sure that after we've gone through that experience that we try and pass down that knowledge. Those experiences and the things that we've learned through that. Not everybody can go into the military, and so, I try and talk with a lot of my kids as friends and that kind of thing about, I probably push them a little bit. I'm probably not, I'm not a cuddly, touchy-feely,
what?
friendly. I'll cuddle with you.
Of course.
But, But you know, I mean, like I'm
And I get that.
kind of.
Yeah, you're very straight
I
to the
tend to
point.
flip a switch. I'm really nice, but get to work. You know what I mean?
No,
So-
absolutely. You know, let's get this done, and and I agree with that. And you know, to some extent, if anything, I'm the teddy bear one. You know, because the way that I look at it, you know, like my service to my country, which I'm very proud of, you know, being in the Marine Corps and being in the, you know, part of the units that I was as a regular infantryman, and then in the, you know, in the unit that follow. I'm very proud of it. And you know, and some things were great, some things were not so great. I will say this though, with my own two children, you know, and they're only 3 and 5, I will not in any way, shape, or form push any sort of like you know, I did this, though
push military service, right.
That's not
got to be their choice.
That's not fucking happening, man.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to like, you know, that's not because of current climate and current environment. It really has to do more along the lines of like, you know, like I pay that toll.
Yeah.
So go, you know, go now. You need to like, in order for me to see that pay up, you need to whatever it may be. Go to school, learn a trade, start a business, write poetry. You know, paint some pictures. Like, do it. You know, if you want to be like Kane on Kung Fu and work the earth and help people on problems, anybody that like 1970s Kung Fu, great show.
You weren't alive in the 70s.
Yeah, I wasn't, but it doesn't mean I didn't like the show in the 80s. It was awesome.
Like the second time around.
David Carradine, man, he was legit. Kill Bill. Okay, if you're young.
There you go.
All right, there you go. So he was Bill. He played Bill. Anyway, it's funny how we went into this rabbit hole, but I see some people in which like I you know, like you can gain a great deal, you know, for a lot of young men and women out there that don't necessarily have some guidance or path, or they're lacking some sort of mentorship. You know, it's just like that could be very much like, you know, a legit option, a legit answer they can get a great deal out of, and then.
It helped me a lot.
Yeah, no, and he helped me a lot too. There's no way that I
never trade it.
Yeah, and I have absolutely no regrets. Absolutely no regrets.
If I knew now what I was signing up for in my personal situation, like if I knew I would go into this, I mean, I might, if I had the same insight that I do now today, I probably would do the same thing. I mean, I have a great life. I have a great family. I got a great life. I've had the opportunity, you know, after I got hurt, there's, you know, racing opportunities that I've taken part in. You know, and competition and business, and I mean, I've got, my life is completely full,
right?
And I've got a network of people around me that I can, you know, chat with that are, I mean, top-notch people, and it's hard to ask for much more than that.
No, absolutely.
You know? I mean, I could ask for $1 million, but I don't, you know. Even if I had $1 million, I don't know that I would be that much.
Yeah, money ain't going to turn the needle. It's going to help with some things, absolutely. You know, so it's like, but it doesn't mean that it's going to turn the needle on all the things that really truly matter to you. You know, that are close to your heart.
Right.
Let's touch on something that you said. Mother effing competition.
Okay.
You're slightly competitive. Okay? A little bit. You know, I'm a competitive drinker. You're a competitive cyclist. I don't know how you call the thingy.
Hand cycle.
Hand cycle, okay. Yeah. That should have been easy. I'm just not totally familiar. Is that something that you got into, like, I mean, I don't want to say shortly after, because clearly there was, you know, you learning all those tricks and getting...
So I got really lucky. There was a guy, when I was still in the hospital down in the VA in San Diego, there was a guy, Al Kovac. He rolled into my room, and he was in a chair, and he's like, "So you're in buds, huh? You know, you in the brotherhood, sort of."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well," he basically, somebody else had told me he was a SEAL. He's like, "Well, you're a paraplegic. I'm a quad, so I don't hear any bullshit." And that was it, you know? And so he did a ton of things to help me out, and took me under his wing. While I was in the hospital there, he had gone to the Atlanta Games, pushing race chairs in the marathon. So I was actually getting into a race chair before I was really out of the hospital very much, you know, and it was Yeah, it was a pretty quick transition though. I mean, you got to have that kind of outlet. You
got to do something because you.
Right,
you
I would
just,
have gone crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. And so I was getting in a race chair, and then I got back to skiing that winter. I think I pushed the doctor. The doctors basically said, we normally don't let people. I got hurt in like July. And the doctors are like, we don't let people go ski until they're a year past injury. But I don't think that if I said no, it would really influence your decision much. I don't think I'm going to influence your decision by telling you that.
Right.
So go ahead. So that, you know what I mean? That because I was going to go snow skiing. And so I got over to Colorado and did some snow skiing. I mean, I got right back into it and started pushing race chairs. And then at that time, the joke was kind of like, hand cycles were just getting started, really. You know, they were just coming onto the scene. And I had people be like, oh, you should get a hand cycle. It's a cool thing. And I was like, that's for sissies, you know, because pushing race chairs it's hard. It's not horribly enjoyable. It's probably less fun than running. And running is not that fun to me.
No,
either.
I don't like. I don't like. You know.
I mean, it would be fun now probably for me, but
right, I get it.
you
But
know.
I don't. No,
But pushing race chairs, you got to wear these funky gloves. You get shredded like right in here. If you miss a push, the hand ring comes around and just rips your arm up. I mean, I came home all the time with blood streaming down my arm. You know, not like arterial bleeding, but definitely leaking fluids. And yeah. And you're like this the whole time. You look up just to make sure you're not going to run into the road. The rest of the time you're like here hanging down. It's not fun. So it was kind of like, well, I'm a hard guy. I'm going to do that.
Right.
So I didn't get started when I probably should have on the hand cycle. But then I started looking at doing triathlon, and so I had to get a hand cycle because it's a swim, bike, run thing. And so I got a bike finally and got started on it. And you know, it was kind of like, well, this is actually kind of nice. I mean, I can go out there and I'm moving faster than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it's a little bit comfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of comfortable. I can actually see what's out here. Yeah,
man, nobody's yelling at you anymore.
Right.
Nobody's spraying you with things
Exactly.
when you're buried neck deep and stuff. Like,
Yep.
enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So I got started doing that. The classification system where they kind of decide. Well, I did several triathlons. I did the inaugural Ironman, half Ironman here in Boise. I did the Super Frog down in San Diego. That's put on by Navy Special Warfare. I did a couple other half Ironmans. I did a lot of Olympic distance and stuff like that. But the classification system is kind of weird. So I would be competing against people that have like much more beneficial disabilities. So like I, paralyzed from here down, would still be competing against people that had like double amputees. And so they weigh 30 or 40 pounds less than me. They're faster in the water because, you know, because they don't have their legs dragging behind them. It was kind of one of those, I don't know that I would ever be able to compete with them. Maybe that was a cop-out. You might call it might be a cop-out, and but I was
they're
like,
fire truckers. No.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like there's no way that I'm going to be the fastest guy out there.
Right, but you're still competing.
Right. But I don't want to go into something where, I mean, I was like, that sucks because there's no way that I could ever reach the top echelon.
Yeah, and at the same time, if you say something that can come across as like, well, you're not
even crippled.
You're not even disabled.
Yeah,
enough.
exactly.
Like,
right. You're way less disabled than me.
Yeah, like your accidents, didn't suck that much.
Might as well
compared to
just
mine.
stub your toe.
Yeah.
All it did was cut one of your legs.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So.
That's
But hand cycling that's really how it is.
Right,
We're not a very
I get it.
like,
No, it's just
irreverent
no,
group.
this is gonna happen. Like this is gonna come up like 12 years later, and somebody's gonna be Jaime's an asshole. But we'll just have to go ahead and live with it. It's okay.
I don't think that will be a revelation to anyone.
No, and then there's that too. So,
but hand cycling had a really well-developed classification system. So I was like, I was getting to the point where I had a couple of kids now at the house, and I needed to specialize a little more. I wasn't going to reach that. I thought that I was a good cyclist the first year I went to nationals, and I I mean, I got my ass handed to me by a couple of quads, and I was like, whoa, these guys are serious and stuff. Like, I gotta better step up my game, you know.
Right.
And they were the fastest quads in the country, you know. But I was kind of like, well, you know what I mean? So, and you know, it was an eye-opening experience. So I really started to knuckle down and start training more, and that commitment to training has just gotten, you know, probably more and more every year. I had a couple of good years. I got hit by a car out on Emmett Highway in 2016 and lost a leg. It was my fault, so but I ended up turning in front of a car that was doing like 60. And he hit me, kind of like T-boned me. I was halfway across the road. The dude saved my life 100%. Hit me right in the shin, right above my leg, and that's the only thing he hit. It broke it all the way off. It was a good break,
Right.
you know. But you know, I wasn't. I couldn't feel it. I wasn't that worried about it. So flipped me over a couple of times. I landed upside down, and my father and one of my father-in-law's best friends was riding right behind me, and I'm like, well, I broke my leg, but I think that's it. So
we're good.
Here, flip me back over, and everybody else is like,
right. And I'm sorry. So, oh gosh, it's like for anybody that is not like familiar with like, you know, like that military type banter, you know, I'm not laughing at Craig's pain, all right, fam?
oh, I'm laughing at
I
it.
know you are gonna want to too. I have laughed before, okay? So it's just like I said.
He's laughing. He's laughing.
Well, don't tell them that. Like they don't, you know, like that. She was also Erica was also squirming.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Like, she was squirming. She
only
squirmed
doing
first,
60.
and then she laughed. Okay, so no, I just.
Well, they pulled me over to the side of the road, and the driver pulled over there. The passenger was literally going into shock, and the driver gets out, and I'm like, dude, that was totally my fault. I am so sorry. Is your car okay? And he's like, what is wrong with you? You know? But I'm like, oh, I'm fine. The paramedic on the ambulance ride in, he's like, you want pain IV or something? I'm like, no, I'm all right. He's like, are you dehydrated? Can I do something? I'm like, I don't know, I'm good. And I'm
give you a sticker.
just on Facebook, you know, oh, I just got hit by a car.
Yeah.
You know, so I ended up losing my leg. It got infected really bad.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, and there's some really great video of me draining a bunch of like bloody pus out of my leg before they decided this just isn't happening very well.
It's
So
just
took that off.
it.
It's a good weight loss program.
Yeah,
recommend
you're way quicker now.
15 pounds
Other things.
in like an hour. I think it's probably a record.
That's Jenny Craig cannot claim
Not
those
even
numbers.
close.
No,
Not even close.
Poor Erica.
She just snorted.
She just walked away. Sorry, Idaho. It's Friday, all right? Give us a minute. I haven't shaved. I need a haircut. Craig Cornwall here in the house. StingerWorx. Good job, everyone. So that's a hell of a fucking story.
Yeah.
You know, seriously, like, you know, I'm laughing. I'm so sorry you lost your leg, and I just really wish, you know.
I wasn't using it.
Yeah, I know. And we were just in that time in which, you know, we get some like robot legs. You know, I can't help to think about my boy Hans Bloom. So when I was in Afghanistan, it was my last combat deployment or whatever, and you know, we're doing, you know, the things. Yeah. So Hans was with me all the way from the very beginning prior to transitioning into MARSOC.
Prior to your transition?
Going from regular infantry to Marine Special Operations Command. So, yeah, exactly. So I became a very, very tough woman. Nothing wrong with that. And, but no, so Hans went through the program with me. Back then, it was the FMTU, the Foreign Military Training Unit, and he got there before I did. And then once I showed up, both him and I went to selection and assessment together. Okay. And it was always, it's just like, you know, Hans he was a very gifted Marine, a great leader, and you know, he's not watching this, so I don't care if I embarrass him or not. But he ended up not going, not being able. He did not get selected, I should say.
Okay.
Which I think to this day it was a huge loss on the command, because they missed out. They missed out on a huge asset. So then he went ahead and became an EOD guy, explosive ordnance disposal guy. And then fate will have it that we were stationed in Camp Lejeune together. And Camp Lejeune is massive, but it was still we're around each other. And then after some time, through different deployments or whatever, he ends up in Afghanistan at the same time I end up in Afghanistan. And unfortunately, he was sent out, to do his work, and things went boom, and and he did lose both his legs, and I never forget it. I went to visit him with our other dear friend Lucas over at Bethesda. I can never pronounce it. English is second language. Well, the hospital, Bethesda.
Oh, Bethesda. I couldn't even help. Thank you. I couldn't. I was like, I don't even know what the hell you're saying, actually.
Fuck you, Craig. So Bethesda. And so we're down there. It's such a long week. Oh my God. Anyway, I love my children. Shout out to them. But no, Luke and I, we do the drive from Camp Lejeune. We get over there, and as soon as we walked into the room, it's like smiling, he all bandaged up, he lost a couple of fingers, I think, and they were able to salvage his hand and his arm, and he's just kind of like, and just looks like a little like, I know, again, not trying to be insensitive, but the way that we talk, amongst each other, it's just a broken toy. Yeah. And I look at Bloom, and I know I don't have a poker face, and I have known Bloom at the time, Hans, for almost 4 years. And he looks at me, and I just know I'm just looking at him like, God damn it. And he just like, what's up, fucker? Like the biggest, cheesiest smile, that anybody can give you. Oh man, over here is great, like lady comes over here, washes my ass with a sponge, it's living the high life. And it's like, okay, and his wife is standing right next to him as he says that, of course. I'm
sure she appreciated it.
Yeah, well, they're divorced now, so, but.
Honestly, my wife would probably rather have somebody else do that for me.
Yeah, to be fair,
if I needed that.
If you needed that, yeah, and but it was just such a bizarre thing, ever since that day, the Lucas and I went and visited him over at the hospital. It was just the robot legs, the robot legs joke, Yep. So where are your robot legs, and where are your robot legs? And Lieutenant Dan's legs, and the whole shit. Right. And I think it was, of course, it never came from like a bad place. It always came from the fact that like we would have never stopped giving each other shit. There's the same way that even when the cameras are not rolling, what I call you before we started filming, and things along those lines, and going back and forward.
So many options,
and so many things, right there. It's like, oh, you're bald and you're in a wheelchair. Woo, Professor X. Yeah. Not the first time you heard that, and but you still have to do it.
I'm only bald I'm bald by choice from like here back. All right, so I'm not bald. Totally.
So it's not because
bald from here.
It's not like what you read on the magazines, like all the excess testosterone that is making you go bald. You just.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I just think this.
I don't know.
That's just something.
I like that.
That's just something some natural bald dudes say in order to make themselves feel better.
It's not. I'm not losing hair. It's just migrating to my ears and my nose.
Nothing more. Yeah, I'm saying my shoulders are getting hairy now that I'm 40. Exactly. So exciting. My wife loves it.
Sure. Nice blanket to cuddle up to.
Yeah.
Oh God, that Jaime is back.
Yeah, and here we are. I should shave. But so what happened then? So you started really, transitioning and specialize, not transitioning, but like, you know, that word's going to be stuck in my vocabulary the whole time. So, we're doing triathlons, hand cycling, we're kicking ass, we're determined to get better, and now we're just doing hand cycling, and we're
just
competing
on hand cycling.
We're competing at what level? Because my man, you are
I was doing pretty well. So the year after I got hit, the next year was in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is like 9,000 feet.
It's a little high
for nationals. And I ended up taking second in nationals all the way like across the board for time trial, road race, and hill climb, or crit. And the time trial was, it was really cold. It was high. I mean, it was like 9,500 feet, and it was on this plateau. There was a fair amount of climbing. I think it snowed on the course the day before, and so I'm good with that kind of like I like hard.
No, yeah, I know.
Conditions like that. I think that it kind of hooks a lot of people out of the zone, and so I'm like, hey, I like this. I'm going to take advantage of this. You know what I mean? And I did well. So I was doing all the things like this. I had just lost 15 pounds. So
a little bit lighter, a little bit more aerodynamic,
And I was doing like I went and I camped my motorhome. I parked my motorhome up at Bogus Basin, so I was sleeping up at 7,000 feet for like 2 weeks.
Because that's what helps you, sleeping on altitude, not working out on altitude. Boom, Jaime knows some things.
There's the truth.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was trying to do all the things, and it turned out really well. I ended up going. My wife and I and another buddy of mine went and competed at a couple World Cup races in Belgium and in Italy. So that was cool. I got the chance to race in the relay for Team USA. I think we got fourth. Or no, we got third. So I actually came back with the medal from World Cup race, which was cool.
No, a lot of people can say that. I can.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean. Is like my life. I doubt that I would have been a world-class cyclist. You know what I mean? Or even a national level cyclist.
Right.
If I wasn't in a wheelchair, I probably wouldn't have had that opportunity available to me. I was too late in life,
Yeah.
And so for me, you got to kind of look at what you got and appreciate it. Like there are things there are opportunities that were opened up to me because I broke my back that would not have been there otherwise.
Yeah, you would have never met me.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad.
You fucking dick. Fair enough. Cool. Well, thank you for touching on that. So we're competing. We went to school.
Yeah,
Where did we go to school?
At the same time, I was going to school at BSU for mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
I did my full bachelor's there, and the year that I guess the triplets were born, my junior year, my ascending senior year. So the year I was going from being a junior to senior, and that semester sucked. It was a hard semester, and there were some classes that were pretty tough. And so, I mean, I would go and I would help hold the triplets over at the hospital while I was reading fluid dynamics books and stuff. I mean, like, it was a tough year.
Yeah.
And triplets are tough. And we had 5 kids in 4 years.
Right.
So we had 1, 2, or 3 in diapers for like 7 years straight. Mm-hmm. It was not a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah. And then, to tell you how much of a badass my wife is, I got an internship I got an internship the summer of my senior year. I got an internship at NASA in Virginia. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't be gone for 10 weeks straight. I could probably do 6, and then we could do maybe some like some distance stuff. And that ended up getting parlayed into a graduate internship. So because I was talking about going into grad school, and they're like, well, we've got this internship available here as a grad internship. So I ended up going through like all of my master's degree curriculum and everything like that while I was working for NASA.
Right.
So, which was, again, pretty awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
I lived down in Houston for about a year and a half, 2 years, working at Johnson Space Center in the robotics division there, it was awesome because the exoskeleton suit that they had just built, they had just kind of finished up on, was parked right next to my desk. and I was not allowed to get in it. I'm like, are you serious? Come on.
Right. And then, that
Safety
leading further
issues,
down
yeah.
into the, Iron Man suit, as it was just everybody.
Right. Well, and that was the next project. After I
Yeah.
finished up with NASA, then I ended up on the other suit.
Yeah, which is really cool. And I mean, well, let's continue on that topic. So you're in Virginia. It pushes you. You're able to finish your schooling. You're doing your work. And then you were over in Houston, and then from Houston, we then.
So it got to the point where it was like, okay, do you want to? Are you interested in continuing with NASA? That we were discussing an appointment as a civil servant.
Yeah, because not everybody, because everybody goes to NASA, and everybody's like, yeah, whatever,
Well, there's only one real pipeline to get hired at NASA, and that's go through their internship program. And so it's hard to do. It's not easy.
Right.
And so the options were, take an appointment and then move to Virginia Beach, in Hampton, Virginia, at that Langley Research Center, or move to Houston. And I'm like, you guys haven't been to Boise. I'm not leaving. I'm sorry. Like, if we can work something out where I could do some remote stuff or halftime in person and halftime in Boise or something like that, I sure. But my parents live, miles from me, just a couple of miles from me. Morgan's parents live just a couple. I can't do that. I'm not leaving Boise.
Right.
So I came back to Boise, and I just, I'd rather be here than I guess work for NASA.
Yeah.
In Houston.
Oh, there you go.
Or Virginia.
There
I got all these notifications of weather notifications, and it was like, it sucks again, and I'm in Boise, and it's like beautiful blue sky, and
So, and
I don't have people trying to kill me on the road. And,
Yeah.
so.
What how much did you get to work on the second suit project?
I was doing like systems engineering on it.
And by the way, so there's people watching that don't understand what it is that we're talking about. So if you don't mind explaining a little bit.
It was interesting because there were two kind of projects going on. One was sponsored, one was financed by DARPA, and one was financed by SOCOM. Like the SOCOM Ironman suit. So I was working on the DARPA project for NASA. We were doing some like rehab stuff, and it was a tendon actuated robot. So basically, we set it up so that your limbs were actually the structural members of the exoskeleton, and all we were doing was actuating your limbs using string, like really neat string, but basically string. We could make it into a puppet.
Right. And then also, and sorry, I don't mean to call you off, but for the folks at home, if you don't mind, just explaining a tiny bit who DARPA is.
Oh, geez. It's like do you know what the...
Yeah, you don't have to tell the acronym, but essentially what
it's like the advanced research projects division of the military.
Right. So
all of the fancy
exactly.
The Blackbird, I think, came out of the DARPA
right,
program,
the Blackbird came out of DARPA. So essentially, a lot of the R&D, research and development, when it comes to some of the equipment that is either everybody or some people is, when we're talking about like, oh gosh, I cannot believe I'm going to say the tip of the spear when it comes to R&D. That's where it's coming from.
Sure.
From DARPA.
Right.
And then that fell into that space, and then there was the other suit that was being.
Now that was the Iron Man suit that everybody.
And that was the
about.
That's the one I saw when I was still part of the gun club. And they parked those over at the they parked those up for a little bit over at what we call the Dead Star, which is the headquarters for MARSOC over at Stone Bay, at Camp Lejeune, and they did a demonstration,
demo,
and other stuff, and there was a couple of the guys from the team that were actually, doing all the things inside of them. I never got to see them in action, but I got to see them, and I remember being pretty blown away.
It's cool.
It was really cool. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was working more on integration of different systems, so we had the I3R or the intelligence information.
Okay.
Yeah. The power, weapons, armament, heads-up display, all of those kind of systems all had to be, all of the design to integrate them and communicate between each one of them. I mean, it was.
It's so many different components.
It's
to
a
talk
ton
to
of
each other. Yeah.
And it's components and then systems of components that,
Right.
they need to, we would do things like, this has to meet these weather resistant specs. And we would have things like, this connector has to be this. I mean, it was a pretty wide range of different requirements that we were looking at and trying to drop. It was a lot of paperwork for me. I mean, from my perspective, I learned a ton and it was cool, and I probably learned to appreciate paperwork a lot, but I always wanted to build.
Right.
I always wanted to manufacture things. I wanted to make things. I wanted to go, oh, here, I'll do this and draw it on a napkin, and then I go into SolidWorks or some other, solid modeling program, draw it up, design it, and then take that and then go build it. And then take it to the end user and see, like, here, tell me how bad this sucks, and tell me what would be better. And that was always kind of my what I wanted to do. And specifically, when I went back in for engineering, specifically to go back and serve the community that I had been part of.
Right.
And really, I mean, for the last 15 years, that's been my goal, is to get back. I was not in the Navy a long time, and I wasn't in that community for a long time when I got hurt. But what I saw, the way they supported me, I mean, all the way up to the CO of Buds, was like, he let my parents use the car. He was like, here, you just, if they need a ride, you drive them over to the hospital to check on Craig. The CO of the place. I mean, it was like everybody backed everybody up. I had, at that point, I hadn't even graduated.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the dedication to that brotherhood, there was nowhere else that I'd ever seen that. And it fostered that dedication back to that community.
That's awesome.
And so, and that's how I've always felt ever since then. So I wanted to be in a place where I could give back to, specifically to that community, because just like you're, deferential to MARSOC, you know what I mean? I'm deferential to that community.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we're all, one team, one fight, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And
at the
so,
end of the day, after all the bravado and all the bullshit,
yeah, it's all
jokes and
about
this other stuff.
backing each other up.
No, yeah, I want guys to have the best equipment possible, the best training possible, and get them to come back over here with all digits,
Exactly.
Functioning, and then have the means for them to be able to transition appropriately into the civilian sector, whether it be mental health support, whether it be education, whether it be opportunities for employment, and opportunities for them to be successful as a family unit, within their spouse and their children, because
that's a tough one.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot, especially during a time in which, not only you're having guys and gals going into combat theaters, but you also have people dealing in other.
And multiple tools. I mean,
multiple tours,
Operational tempo is crazy compared to everything in the past.
And a lot of other areas of conflict where you're like, well, so-and-so wasn't in Afghanistan or Iraq. Well, whoop the F and do, motherfucker. But at the same time, you're still going to some places that it's very high stress. And
not going on vacation.
The stakes are very high, because all of a sudden you're with a small team doing a number of things.
Right.
For the sake of logistics support, and and in reality, the consequences of making a mistake or to create an international incident. So and that's again, sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tirade, but yeah, I completely agree with you.
I get what you're saying.
And and it's cool, because when you're talking about what feeds your why, for what you do, which we're gonna get pretty close to, and then it's reminiscent from when I was talking to Dan. When Dan Nelson was here talking to me, it's like giving back and paying back, and just like, like, and he always he says something, that still sticks with me, because I agree with him. It's like, well, I'm not done. Like
Yeah.
I was given this support, I was given this backup, I was given these second chances, when in reality I didn't deserve them, and here I am. And he got hurt as well, and all the things that happened, and losing, Aaron from his team and all this other stuff, and that. Now he's doing what he's doing over here with the nonprofit, and his work with Mission 43, and all these other things.
The Butler Run.
Yeah, and then Aaron Butler Purple Heart Run, which is still going to take place.
August 15th.
Outstanding, yeah. So well done, Craig. And and he's an Army guy, he's an Army SF guy, and here we are, one team, one fight. But it's just, and I feel the same way, and I know you feel the same way. It's we're not done. We're not done. So there's got to be.
And it's our job. It's our job to back up the guys that are still coming into that pipe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Regardless of experiences, whether it's a positive experience, a negative experience, or a combination of all, which is usually what's happened. You have people that are still willing to. In a volunteer basis, to meet the need, to take the fight out there, and that means a lot. But yeah, when you were talking about, all the work with the suit and all the components and everything, I couldn't help but think about, oh gosh, Erica, maybe you might have to Google this. When was Starship Troopers written? Do you remember?
It's a while back.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to nerd out. Just bear with me, Idaho. When? 1997?
No, that's
that
when
is
the movie
incorrect.
was made.
The book.
Yeah.
The book was written, I think, in 1960 something.
Yeah, it was a way while.
1960s. I mean, you read the book.
No.
No? Okay, that's
Saw
fine.
the movie. That's good enough, right?
No, it's not, because the movie's garbage. Okay, I'm gonna punch you. I don't care that you're in the chair, which is funny because you can probably knock me out. But that's not here nor there. No, and the movie doesn't do it justice, and I guess this doesn't work very well because your illiterate ass didn't read the fucking book. But I'm joking, friend.
Sorry,
But-
I don't have time to just sit around and read books.
Right. No, you were just, breaking records from the get-go. But no, it was just really cool how, all the way back to, like, we're just going to assume it's 1960-something. 1950 effing 9.
There you go.
So in 1959, somebody was talking already about.
I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan. We got the fact check.
Well, it's a big deal. Because someday I'm gonna do something in the future, and
go.
somebody's gonna go back like, you remember that episode with Craig and Jaime said?
Yep.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, because
I'm gonna
once
be
it's
your
out there,
breakout thing.
once it's on the World Wide Web, it's on the World Wide Web, brother.
Yeah, no.
But no, so 1959.
I got a couple things like that out there. That
No,
I'm not-
let's just not go there. But, homie's talking about, essentially, comms, GPS, displays, screens within your visor, and this like
way
big-
cutting edge stuff at that time.
Absolutely, and we're actually not even there,
Yeah.
because he's talking about the type of suits essentially. Where you just like, you just do this jump, and this like jetpack essentially just like propels you
Yeah, no.
several meters, forward, and like, and it's just the ability that he's able to, like, if it's hot, it keeps you cool. If it's cool, it keeps you warm.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's really amazing. And of course, so you're thinking it's sci-fi. Yeah, it's sci-fi. It's 1959.
That guy, the guy that talked like that was like the first guy that I talked to for NASA. He was 80, I think. He'd been there forever. He had worked on all the Apollo missions. He was my direct mentor, and he's like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to be the most forward-thinking guy here, and tell me where we're going with cyborg and cybernetic development.
Right.
I couldn't keep up with him. I mean, like, I'm like a make metal into shape, and he's like the most forward-thinking guy I'd ever run into. I mean, he clearly was on a different level.
He's an outlier. But to be fair to you, okay, and I completely, I've never met the guy, so you know him clearly way better. He's your mentor and what stuff. But when you are surrounded by that, and that's the space the space that you live in, and that happens to be your passion and what fuels your why.
Yeah.
That's always what you're going to be doing.
Well, and that was his job.
Right.
His job was to make sure he was the lead scientist for Langley Research Center.
Yeah, but if you're 80,
Everything that came out of there, he had to have some kind of oversight.
you know, and if you're 80 and you're thinking that far ahead, I mean,
not normally.
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, just think of the progression that he's seen.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, if he's 80 something years old, I mean, when
10 years ago.
when 10 years ago, so when he was in his late 20s, he was changing channels with a remote on a black and white TV
Without
set.
a remote.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, that's what I meant
was
to say. With
the
a remote.
remote,
You're just going tung tung
probably,
tung tung.
when he
Yeah,
was
tung tung
10.
tung tung. You know, and you're like moving the antennas.
Right.
Putting the tin foil. You're like, you're getting it. Yeah. So yeah, and I get it.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it was a really good experience. All of my time with NASA was awesome. It was great. I mean, I worked with some amazing people. It was cool.
And then.
And I worked with some amazing people in the Navy. You know, I mean, like.
Yeah, well, we're already past the Navy. Fuck them guys. I'm kidding.
Sure, I could arrange a meeting.
I am joking. I'll fight you. No, they'll kick my ass. I'm just me and my dad, but I have nothing left to give. But okay, so you learned a little bit of a few skills.
I
here and
did.
there.
Yeah, a lot of design stuff. I hadn't
Yeah.
really done any machining, like manual machining, a little bit. Of
Yeah.
manual machining, so.
But now you're back at home. Okay. It's time to get to work.
Right.
Because now you're at home, and
Yeah.
then we start transitioning into where we're at
This,
right now.
yeah. So I went out. I joined another buddy of mine that had gone through school with me, and kind of he had already started this and gotten things rolling and that kind of thing. I came in and helped just kind of get it caught up, give another body in there that could approach. I mean, I had owned a business before also, so there's a kind of a different mindset between a business owner and an employee. And I came in with the goal as to be a business owner.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I brought what I brought to the table, you know, and I had some network and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it worked out where I kind of jumped in the driver's seat of servicing the brand. So the brand was already out there. One of the good things about the design of the can is that it's serviceable. I mean, if there's ever any problems like that, I can rebuild the whole can in like 10 minutes. Okay. And so, but not if those parts aren't being made. And I had already kind of put my reputation on the fact that we would be there to support the brand. And so
Right.
I kind of had to put my money where my mouth was there on that. And so that's how we ended up continuing doing that.
Awesome.
So I took over making sure that we're all still there for everybody.
Okay. That's pretty great. And now, you know, and some time has gone since you got started there.
Yeah, I had to buy my own machines and set up my own shop.
Right. So now it's you.
Yeah, now it's me. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting some other help in, but I'm
Right,
just
absolutely.
kind of moved over and getting everything set up over here.
No, yeah, absolutely. And these are awesome.
So I need a machinist. Here's my camera right there.
There's your camera.
I need a
right
machinist.
So
CNC
yeah,
machinist.
absolutely. So there you go, Idaho. You know, like
I knew I'd find a reason for it.
Yeah, and this is the real reason why you agreed to come here. Just like, come on, don't worry, we'll get your plug in.
There you go.
All over again. No, and these are beautiful and these are awesome. You know, this one here is mine. There are many like it, but this one's my own.
No, that one's the only one out in existence with that.
Yeah,
looks like that.
and I really appreciate, you know, the Raider, you know,
Yep.
symbol on it. from.
So we do
it's a nice
stuff
touch.
for
It was a nice touch because I didn't ask you to do that, and I really, really appreciate it. This is for my hunting gun. Mostly, I'm a archery guy, but I do transition, to my rifle. This means a lot. I really, really appreciate the personal touch. Now, tell me a little bit more about the cans, so the people at home that are watching just kind of get a warm and fuzzy about what these bad boys are.
So let me
Backtrack, do your thing, man.
Yeah, so a lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions about suppressors.
We're gonna go there first. Okay, I like it.
Do you not want? I mean, I can.
No. If we want to, because I was gonna go with that later.
Okay.
But let's
get
start
there
there.
now.
No. Let's do it now. Let's do it now.
So there's a lot of misconceptions with suppressors. They don't make them whisper quiet. What you see in the movies is not accurate. it's not going to make it so that I can, just pop you, and the guy in the next room will be like, "Whoa, did I hear something?" That's not what it's like. So this will bring it down to hearing safe. I don't shoot with hearing protection anymore because I never shoot unsuppressed because I'm spoiled. But I don't like to, it helps with training people how to shoot. It kind of calms the whole experience down. It's not as dramatic, so you don't get people flinching from pulling the trigger, that kind of thing. You can talk with people, you know what I mean? If I was working with somebody shooting and they had cans on, and then Mike and Ike's inside, they wouldn't be able to hear me. I'd be yelling at them, trying to be able to get, so it helps in communication, and it helps like for hunting. Some of these, like these are hunter specific designs.
My model, the one, that one is called, what is that, Hunter 65?
The Hunter, yeah. So it's lightweight, and when you're hunting, they got sport ears, I guess, is one of those things where you put in and you can kind of hear things, and then when you shoot, it silences. But it's more money. I mean, it's probably less than a suppressor, but there's a lot of benefits to shooting suppressed. All of our cans bring things down to hearing safe. I shoot a 300 Weatherby Magnum, which is a pretty good sized round.
Yes, it is.
And it's got at least, it's got a lot of powder behind it, and I shoot it without hearing protection through a Hunter can.
Right.
So it performs great. I've had a lot of people shoot it, and they're like, "That's crazy! I can't believe that." So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not gonna assume that you don't remember.
If you're legal, really overall, if you're legal to own a gun, then you're legal to buy a suppressor. It takes paperwork. It takes some time.
Well, as it should also.
Sure.
Not everybody. This is not. You're not picking this up at Walmart.
Yeah. Okay.
I
think it's an interestingly arranged chunk of metal. I'm not going to kill you with this unless I bludgeon you with it. Like that,
Right.
I don't. It's interesting that it's treated like a weapon on its own.
Right.
That's how the ATF handles it right now.
Yeah.
There's like the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act, that's been talked about. It would be great if that was enacted, but these aren't. I think that there's a misconception out there that these make it easy to murder people.
Right. There's a huge thing, and it has a lot to do with the misunderstanding and the lack of information and education when it comes to the practical application of the piece of gear that we have here in front of us. So and
it makes your gun more accurate. It makes it easier to shoot. It reduces recoil, reduces muzzle rise. It makes it more accurate. Raises the muzzle velocity a little bit. It makes it more comfortable to shoot. It's like there's no downsides.
Right.
A little longer.
And I happen to know by personal experience these are tested well.
That was a good video of watching you.
So I'm referring to which model was it?
That was an Emperor.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are there's a couple different models. You can't really tell the difference when you look at them, but they're I think the Emperor is all titanium, and let me rephrase that. I know the Emperor is all titanium. I think it's about 3 or 4 ounces lighter. And that's like, this one here is an Emperor can.
Right.
And that one's about 11 and a half, 12 ounces. And this one here is like 9 ounces.
Okay.
And
for 7.62.
Yeah, that's for 7.62.
Yeah.
So the difference is that'll withstand a higher fire rate. So what he was referring to on the testing is that we were doing a SOCOM table to see kind of what it would withstand, and you go out and you go through 240 rounds in 4 minutes, and things get warm and toasty, and you didn't even wear gloves.
I did not wear gloves. Because I'm a braggadocious fellow.
So yeah, the Hunters are kind of designed for bolt gun applications. You want to be like 5-10 rounds in 15 or 30 seconds, and then you want to let it kind of come back down to ambient temperature.
Yeah.
Because it's made out of 70-75 aluminum. It has the same tensile strength as steel, but it's a little more sensitive to heat.
Right, as to compare to this
All
one
tie.
over here.
Yeah.
Right.
That one, we've had guys send it back. I think they had a problem with the brake or something like that, but they sent it back and it was purple. And that means it was up to like 1,500 degrees or something like that. So they ran it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and we ran it pretty hard. We put.
We did run it pretty hard. Yeah.
A lot of rounds through it. Is that Morgan calling you?
It is Morgan.
Oh, you just need to tell Morgan stop.
Yeah. I will.
Just not.
Oh, I'm working out and I'm on my way. I can't send either one of those. I'll just ignore it.
Can you
again.
please? Yeah.
If you're watching, Morgan, come on.
Stop
calling me.
He's with Jaime. Who's Jaime? This happens all the time.
She sounds horrible.
He sounds horrible.
She sounds horrible.
What are you wearing, Jaime?
Yeah.
Khakis.
Turkeys.
Anyways.
Well, he's a guy.
I've done that before, so he's a guy. So sounds hideous. No, so that's awesome. So we have a can. Okay, so clearly, for more strenuous use. Okay.
Yeah, and it comes in a kit. So the Hunter comes like this, like it has a box. But I mean, it comes as a can, which is the way most suppressors are sold anyway.
Yeah.
The Emperor, then it comes with extra stuff. It comes with the case, blast chamber. Like when you shoot a gun enough, a lot of carbon kind of builds up. When it gets on the threads, then this is a tool that goes on the blast chamber, and then you can break it off of the gun more easily. And then it has this OBX, which is over the barrel expansion chamber. So you pull this back cap off, and then you thread this on, and it goes over the top of the barrel and comes backwards over the top of the barrel behind the muzzle. It increases the volume of the blast chamber and reduces the noise by another 1 to 3 decibels. Oh. So it brings it down a little bit. It's really light. There's hardly there's hardly anything to it.
Oh gosh.
And so it doesn't make that much difference in weight. It doesn't increase the weapon system length or anything like that. So there's if you can fit it on there, sometimes it will interfere with a handguard or something like that. So some people choose not to use it, but so that helps. You know what I mean? And it comes in the case with a wrench for servicing it also. So that's for that, and that's for
And when you're taking when you're saying about servicing it, you mean being able to take it apart?
Take it apart, yeah. So it's like to swap out the OBX for the back chamber, the back cap.
Okay.
It breaks this nut loose. I've also I'm doing some building some an armorer's kit that allows people to not only pull it apart, but then they can do some other stuff and get in there and clean the baffles and everything like that. Because there's been some research done by some Army sniper types that we were talking to that said that there's a point where you get to where you want to do it. But these are guys that are throwing lead all day for their jobs.
We're talking,
those people don't need to.
It's not like your regular infantry cat that gets maybe half a box of ammo. These guys have a couple of
barrels.
Pellets, and we're changing stuff.
I know the rounds for my rifle are like $5 a piece, so I'm not going to go through 3,000 rounds with that.
Exactly. So no, and that's cool. Currently, on the different models, we have we have the Hunter model. I'm assuming, Emperor over there. This one.
That's a Hunter.
That's a Hunter
as
well. With a super sweet. Also, shout out to the local company Cryptek.
Yep.
Over here out of Idaho. This one as well. This one. Which one is this one?
They're two Hunters. They're for
two Hunters. Okay.
Industry partner of ours.
There you go. So what are we looking at as far as utility, lifespan, how?
These are designed to last forever. Okay. And that's the cool thing about the design, instead of it just being like a welded metal tube. If you ever have a baffle strike, if you ever have any kind of an issue, if you're a knucklehead and you don't get it on there all the way tight or something like that, you get a baffle strike. Or if you're an idiot like I was a while back and I saw somebody, I was shooting with a guy, and we were shooting both 5.56 and 7.62 stuff, and 30 cal stuff, and I saw him loading 5.56 rounds, so I'm like, oh, we're shooting 223, we're shooting 5.56, and so I handed him a 223 can, and he's shooting, and we couldn't hit nothing. We weren't anywhere near on paper. We were shooting through a rifle at 100 yards, and it was like did you see it hit anywhere at all? And there's a guy on the range next to us, like, there's a ton of crap coming out. And we look back there, and the whole, like, you look here, this whole thing was just completely augered out. And I'm like, huh, what are you shooting? He's like, 30 cal. And I'm like, well, that explains it, because I put a 5.56 can on there. So, you know, but I wasn't too worried about it. I took it back to the shop and I fixed it in 10 minutes.
Awesome.
And so the serialized part, just, you know, for anybody's edification, the serialized part is what you have to have for ATF tracking of that device. And so the only part that's serialized, all the serialization is done with the blast chamber. So if there's any problem anywhere down from here, we can fix it. You don't have to get another stamp. You don't have to do anything else with the ATF. It's just a repair. Because, or also, we've done some things where we've updated like some baffle designs and that sort of thing. And so down the road here in a couple of years, if we come up with a better baffle design, I'm going to try and do everything we can to make sure that everything's backwards compatible. So I can, you know what I mean? So
that's a big deal.
It absolutely. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to that I took this over, is because that whole ability to provide that service to your customers and that longevity to your customers. I mean, you got to be around to do that.
Now, I know. So to me, that seemed very, very simple. You know, if you could explain the folks at home, you know, that are watching this or on their phones or whatever, what do you mean like backwards compatible?
So if we develop a new baffle design, I'm going to try and do everything I can.
Right.
I mean, if it's a wild departure and it's a completely different form factor, then I can't do that. But if any of the baffles will fit in the tube, the way, you know, like the way that they kind of fit in the tube now, even if there's an extreme departure from the rest of the design, we'll be able to take their can and update it for, you know, not for free, because I mean it's
right.
But
you do have to get paid for your hard work.
It'd be probably a couple $100, you know, or something like that. But and frankly, I guess if I can, even if the tube was different, because everything, all these are actually tightened down, but even if the tube was different, I can break that nut loose, and it's just the blast chamber here, and this is threaded. So as long as the tube mounts in a similar way, then we're good. You know what I mean? I can update a can and keep it like at the top, performing as good as the latest thing, even if it's 10 or 15 years old.
And have it be cost effective.
Yeah, cost effective,
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Yeah. Holy shnikes, Craig. So I guess that answers also the question is what is that we get to look forward to with StingerWorx.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And then
we're moving into some pistol cans. We have a 338 can that's sweet. The 338 can does a really, really nice job.
Outstanding.
It's a little bigger. It's probably, I think it's 10 inches. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but it's a little longer and you know, it's a little heavier, but it's a 338. I mean, that's a big round. You got to have more volume. Yeah, you got to. So, but it does a great job. Great job. And then the pistol stuff's coming out too.
Well, this is the part in which we start transitioning into more about you, because you know and this whole thing has been all about you, so it's all good. but as we before we start wrapping up, I want to know if there's anything whether you want to say it again or is something else that you haven't shared with us about StingerWorx. What should we be looking forward to? Where can we find you? what or whatever. Please let us know. Let's highlight it. Let's talk about it real quick before we wrap this up.
All right. Well, yeah, you can get to our company at StingerWorx.com with a WORX or StingerOutdoorGroup.com. It'll go both to our website. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. I will do it for you.
I'm not Mr.
Check out the website. Going to look.
Check it out.
Google StingerWorx Outdoor Group. Craig offers a variety of solutions for your suppressor needs. Okay.
Muzzle devices also.
Muzzle devices, if you may.
Brakes.
Brakes, which we never got to cover, but
Yep.
at the same time, also a solution and option that you facilitate. And if you're interested in this, you're going to know what this means.
Right. And the suppressor is made to mount over the top of the brake, so you don't have to take your brake off to put your suppressor on.
Exactly. So it just makes it that much easier for lazy guys like myself.
He is lazy.
Yeah, I am lazy, and and again, it goes without saying. Thank you so much. These are really nice, personal touch. I very much appreciate it. So yeah, check out the website.
We do military and LEO discounts also.
Military and line forms and officers discount. That's
And
good
if
to
you're
know.
if you're one of somebody under the JSOC umbrella, talk to me.
Yeah, send an email.
Yeah.
And then Craig will get to you with a little something. Let's just call it that. They know what we mean. Craig, thank you so much. Very much appreciate your time, especially on a Friday. I'm sure your kids miss you.
Ha!
Mine don't.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. They're with their mom, just having a blast. It's just like, Dad's away. But no, we certainly appreciate you bringing the show and tell, talking about your journey and your story, and again, just sharing, not what makes your company unique, but also what makes Idaho unique. I really appreciate you. I thank you for your service. I thank you for everything, all the things that you have done, and all the things you have accomplished, because you're still continuously giving back, not just to the military community, law enforcement community, but all of us here in Idaho. So very much appreciate you. I am so honored and proud to be, that I get to call you a friend. So Idaho, if you're watching, pay attention, look it up. StingerWorx Outdoor Group. Look them up on Google or whatever other browser of your preference. You'll find them. Local company. Make sure you always support local, especially in this current environment. Thank you again to Argos Productions, Justin and Erica, for facilitating the opportunity to come over here and do our thing, because we usually do it on a Wednesday and we're doing it on a Friday. So yay, weekend. If you're at home watching or wherever you're at from your device, have a great weekend. Decompress, do your thing, and if you have to work, do your work. But at the same time, when you get a chance, make sure you relax. And remember, Idaho, as always, when you have the opportunity, get out there and be kind to somebody. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers. Thanks, brother.
Yep.